Also, we have some MMA news here. Did you see Colby Covington come out with Hulk Hogan to Real American?
I did.
And then Colby went on to get his ass beat pillar to post by Joaquin Buckley and get his eye sliced off almost. And like Dana White was like, in Vegas, that fight doesn't get stopped. And I'm sitting there like, dude, his eyelid was it looked like it was gonna fall off or something. Like, I don't know. To me, I wasn't mad. Like, okay, why? You want us to just sit here and watch Colby get the beat out of him for 3 more rounds? Like, I don't need to see. It's definitive. Joaquin beat his ass and has improved. And yeah, I don't know. The Hulk Hogan curse, like, well, I don't know. Trump won the election, but yeah, Colby did not win this thing. And he came out to Real American instead of the regular Kurt Angle theme. And yeah, what were your thoughts, I guess, on that and him coming out with Hulk Hogan?
I know both Keith Schillen of Sherdog and Marcel Dorf both told me, look, Buckley's winning this fight. If it's standing, if Colby can't take it to the ground, then Buckley will stop him. He's on a different plane. His striking has improved. He's no longer at middleweight, so he's a big welterweight. And Colby, you look and go, the only 2 guys he's beaten lately have been one guy who's no longer in MMA, in the UFC or MMA altogether, in Jorge Masvidal, and the other guy is a guy who basically last time we saw him got knocked out in a boxing match against Jake Paul, Tyrone Woodley.
Yep.
He hasn't won a fight against anybody who's decent in the UFC. I give him credit. This is a guy who was at one point getting probably released by the UFC if he lost his next fight. He was boring. He was just a plain wrestler. He
worked
tapped
his way
into
up the champ.
and he tapped into the Chael Sonnen, Conor McGregor.
Who's right here, by the way. Chael Sonnen's right next to him as well. I forgot to mention that. One of the greatest, like, he would cut like pro wrestling promos for those unfamiliar. Everyone's familiar with Uncle Chael. Like, he's a travesty that he's never been in the WWE for like a stint, you know, doing something, like not even wrestling, like just doing something. But anyways, Colby scratched and clawed his way, as you were saying, wins the title. And does the damn thing, creates these waves, does the MAGA thing. Trump's there to support him. He loses. Hulk Hogan's here to support him. He loses. I don't think the UFC ever cuts him, but I don't know who he really fights next. Like, he's basically just a glorified jobber at this point. Not to diss Colby or anything, but he's just not as fast. His takedowns aren't as good. He can't throw the combos like he used to. He seems undersized for a lot of these welterweights. And yeah, I don't know what they do with him next. And yeah, Hulk Hogan notably using this thing as like a cane here too at the start. So hopefully he's doing well. But yeah, just promo for this Real American beer, which my conspiracy is UFC people are bought into that, or someone is. Matt Riddle is still collecting paychecks from the UFC thanks to the lawsuit. So there was a class action lawsuit where with the UFC, where a lot of these fighters are all getting paid out now, and there's like a website you go to, you can collect these checks. And so Matt Riddle is part of that. And he gets paychecks from the UFC now moving forward, like once a month. I don't know how much it is, $2,500 or $1,200 a month or whatever. I don't know. But it was a big settlement that happened. Matt Riddle's one of the guys. He was like a really good talent, but Dana White buried him infamously and was like, this guy's a dumb, he'll never do anything, because he failed like weed tests. So he failed like marijuana tests. Now marijuana, you can smoke weed and you don't fail for THC in UFC. But he went on to become this big pro wrestling star in WWE, and then they merged with TKO, and then not long after, like, Matt Riddle's gone. He's persona non grata. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think Dana really doesn't like Riddle, and with how he likes to party and some of the shit that comes out about him, I think they're better washing their hands of it. Matt Riddle has expressed he'd like to go and finish off the RK Bro story if he could, but yeah, I don't know. Basically, he has his perspective of his WWE release, and this is courtesy of Ringside News. He's saying like he's really enjoying his life, in that sense that if I don't want to do something, I don't have to do it. I can make choices now. That was something I hadn't been able to do for a long time, even before WWE. The only way we get there was by basically giving up that kind of control. So it was a good decade or so of not having any say over my life, my time, or my schedule. And Matt Riddle's like, I thought this is good when I got released. I looked at the pros and cons, and he's like, I don't work for TKO anymore. He's like, the pros, Dana White's not my boss. I don't work for TKO. So he knew it was something, but he's like, I'm still getting paid from UFC, so thank you, TKO and UFC. So, that was his statement to Ringside News. So, I don't think him and Dana really like each other too much, and I don't think a Matt Riddle return is in the future anytime soon in the UFC or WWE. And it's cool he's taking indie bookings. We see him showing up at like birthdays, but Riddle's a guy I'm surprised that hasn't like tried to call out a Jake Paul. Well, I think he did, but I think they know he'd smoke him. Like especially in MMA. So I don't know in boxing. I think honestly the Pauls could probably take Riddle in a boxing match, but I'd love to see it because Riddle really, if you look at his record, he was a phenomenal talent and really got caught because of weed. And who knows what he would have been in the UFC. Thank God he had his run in the WWE. However, if I'm him, I'm trying to get one of these freak show fights before people stop caring about this. However, with the Netflix like a TKO relationship with all that, his options are becoming more and more limited in that department. So what are your thoughts on Matt Riddle and everything I'm babbling about?
Oh God. I think WB just after a while looked at Riddle and went, we got to get rid of this guy. He's under the influence. He spouts off his mouth. Goldberg can't stand him. Lesnar wouldn't want to deal with him. Seth Rollins got fired, fed up with them. Then, the whole, the TSA agent who he accused of getting molested by, which that didn't happen.
It was crazy.
He's an idiot. I mean, look, and I even know, but his current wife he had, she was married, she was with somebody else. He got involved in that, didn't care. He's an idiot, and that's why you haven't seen like AEW or WWE, even TNA, like seriously offer him a deal because you're just worried, like, okay, what's he gonna do next? What are we worried about? I mean, he's the guy that if you said, oh yes, pro wrestler, XWE pro wrestler got arrested for being drunk and naked in the main streets. Details 11. You would go, that's probably Matt Riddle. So
I love Matt Riddle, but
yeah.
Yeah, I've been a fan of him since like even on The Ultimate Fighter, and I was like a fan of this dude. So it's just funny like to see, like I remember when he started pro wrestling too. I was like, what? That's so weird, but he had such a good character. And then he just blew. I was like, okay, that's awesome, but I don't know if this guy ever be in WWE. Boom, he's in WWE, like getting world title shots, fucking teaming with Randy Orton of all people. It's like amazing. But yeah, it's just Dana White and TKO get aligned with WWE, and then he's persona non grata. And yeah, Chris calls him an idiot. I'm a little more I don't want to call him an idiot. He flies by he marches to the beat of his own drum.
There's a lot of guys like that, but think of it like you are in the middle of a program with Randy Orton and Roman Reigns. Just don't screw it up. Just keep sober. Anybody could do that, and
at least in the airport, bro. At least in the airport, okay? The TSA touches everybody's dicks, bro. But we all got to deal with it if you want to fly on planes after 9/11. All right, that's what. I'm just kidding.
I know. We all kid, but it's like you just look at him. It's like he could have been a great star. He had the look, he had the athleticism, he had the the
legitimacy behind his actual ability to people up.
Yes, and it was like it was constantly like, gotta stop smoking weed. Nope, I gotta do it. It's like you gotta stop partying. No, you gotta do it. I mean, I bet if you got Randy Orton in the truth serum, he probably would have looked at Orton at Riddle and went, "Oh my God, this guy's like he won't grow up. He's just an idiot." He was part of Drew McIntyre, a program with Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton. So you knew the company had big plans. He was feuding with the Usos and Roman Reigns. And the fact they fired him because he couldn't keep sober and couldn't behave on an airplane, that's just idiotic behavior.
That's just Ric Flair, brother. Woo! No. Okay, so the last thing I want to show you is this was in a shoot wrestling match, dude. This was in a shoot wrestling match. You ready? And this person got disqualified for this. Watch this.
Watch out, watch out! And his name is John Cena!
And I don't know why they played the John Cena thing, but this guy hit an RKO in a wrestling match and got disqualified, for real. That's pretty dope, dude. That's amazing. All right, let's just play that again a couple times. Boom. How cool is that? And then he got DQ'd. And the other guy was legit selling it because I'm sure that didn't feel nice to just faceplant like that. But what do you make of that, man? That's pretty crazy. We saw Walls of Jericho in an MMA match a handful of years ago. You know, we got an RKO here. We've seen pile drivers and Pride, power bombs from Rampage. What do you think when people like start trying like this? Luckily, nobody got hurt, but I think that's cool, and that's a great way to wrap up this segment.
It's cool looking, but when you know that, like he could have killed the kid because
you're dropping him.
Guys.
Yeah, dude.
It's like, this is why This is why we say
next stuff is sketchy, bro. Next stuff, bro. Next slams and cranks. Those are sketchy, dude. Yeah, and that was our MMA segment. Round of applause for MMA segment, ladies and gentlemen.